Napoleon Bonaparte. The name alone evokes images of battlefields shrouded in smoke, of ambitious military campaigns spanning continents, and of a man who, for a time, held the fate of Europe in his hands. Few figures in history have risen to such dizzying heights of power, and fewer still have had such a profound and lasting impact on the course of Western civilization. Born in the shadow of revolution, Napoleon harnessed the chaos of his time, transforming himself from an ambitious artillery officer into the Emperor of France. His story is one of ambition and genius, of military triumphs and crushing defeats, of a relentless pursuit of glory that ultimately ended in tragedy. Napoleon's life was a whirlwind of activity, a relentless pursuit of power and influence that left an indelible mark on the map of Europe and the annals of history. He was a man of contradictions, a brilliant military strategist and a ruthless dictator, a champion of the French Revolution who ultimately crowned himself emperor. His legacy is equally complex, a tapestry woven from threads of Enlightenment ideals and imperial ambition, of revolutionary fervor and authoritarian control. To understand Napoleon, we must first journey to his origins, to the rugged island of Corsica, where he was born into a world on the cusp of a dramatic transformation. It was an era of immense change, with the American Revolution sending shockwaves across the Atlantic and the French Revolution about to ignite, forever altering the political landscape of Europe. It was in this tumultuous world that Napoleon took his first steps, his destiny intertwined with the revolutionary spirit sweeping the continent. Napoleon's early life was shaped by the tensions between his Corsican heritage and his French aspirations. His family, while of noble lineage, was not wealthy, and Napoleon's path to power would be paved with ambition and a relentless pursuit of military glory. From a young age, he displayed a keen intellect and a fascination with military history, devouring books on strategy and tactics. These early passions would lay the foundation for his meteoric rise through the ranks of the French army, a rise fueled by his tactical brilliance and an almost preternatural ability to command. Napoleon Bonaparte was born on August 15, 1769, in Ajaccio, Corsica. Corsica had recently been acquired by France, adding political complexity to his identity. Born into modest nobility, his father Carlo was a lawyer and politician. Carlo fought for Corsican independence before pledging allegiance to France. His mother, Letizia, was known for her strong will and determination. Napoleon's childhood blended Corsican pride and French influence. He grew up speaking Corsican and Italian. His father secured a scholarship for him at Brienne-le-Château Military Academy. This decision set Napoleon on a path to a grand destiny. At the tender age of 9, Napoleon bid farewell to Corsica and embarked on a journey to mainland France, where he enrolled in the military academy at Brienne-le-Château. The experience was a stark contrast to his upbringing on the sun-drenched island. The academy, with its strict discipline and rigorous curriculum, tested Napoleon's resolve and exposed him to the world of military strategy and tactics. He excelled in mathematics and history, subjects that fed his growing fascination with warfare and the art of leadership. While Napoleon displayed a keen intellect, his time at the academy was not without its challenges. He faced prejudice from some of his aristocratic classmates, who looked down upon his Corsican origins and modest background. This sense of being an outsider fueled his ambition and determination to prove himself worthy of recognition and respect. He immersed himself in his studies, devouring books on military history and strategy, analyzing past campaigns, and honing his understanding of warfare. Even at this young age, Napoleon's strategic brilliance was evident, and he impressed his instructors with his grasp of military tactics and his ability to think several steps ahead. In 1789, as Napoleon neared the end of his studies at the military academy, The French Revolution erupted, sending shockwaves across France and beyond. The Bastille had fallen, the monarchy was teetering on the brink of collapse, and the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity echoed through the streets of Paris and beyond. This tumultuous period would have a profound impact on Napoleon, shaping his worldview and presenting him with both opportunities and challenges. Initially, Napoleon, still a young officer in the French army, observed the events of the revolution from a distance. He returned to Corsica, where he witnessed firsthand the island's own struggle for autonomy amidst the chaos engulfing France. He joined the Corsican National Guard, aligning himself with the revolutionary cause and seeking to carve out a role for himself in the unfolding drama. However, his political maneuvering and ambition soon made him enemies, forcing him to flee Corsica and seek refuge back in mainland France. The revolution, once a distant spectacle, had now become deeply personal, shaping his destiny and setting the stage for his meteoric rise to power. In 1793, Napoleon returned to a revolution-torn France. The monarchy was abolished and the First French Republic was born. France faced internal strife and external threats. Neighboring monarchies declared war and counter-revolutionaries rose. Amid chaos, Napoleon saw opportunity. He rejoined the army as an artillery officer. His first major test was the siege of Toulon. Napoleon's plan recaptured the city. His success earned him recognition and fame. Napoleon's success at Toulon marked a turning point in his career. Recognized as a brilliant strategist, his name whispered in the corridors of power in Paris. The French Republic saw in Napoleon a commander who could deliver victories. In 1796, he commanded the French army of Italy against Austrian forces. A series of stunning victories cemented Napoleon's reputation. The Italian campaign showcased Napoleon's tactical genius. At Lodi, Mantua, and Rivoli, Napoleon's army routed the Austrians. Napoleon became a national hero, his name synonymous with victory. While Napoleon's military triumphs secured his status as a national hero, they also fueled his ambition and his belief that he was destined for a greater role in shaping France's destiny. The Directory, the government that had come to power after the Reign of Terror, was weak and unpopular, plagued by corruption and unable to provide the stability that France desperately craved. Napoleon, returning from his triumphs in Italy, saw an opportunity to seize power and establish a more stable and effective government. On November 9, 1799, Napoleon, with the support of key military leaders and politicians, staged a coup d'état, overthrowing the Directory and establishing a new government known as the Consulate. The coup, swift and bloodless, marked a decisive shift in power, with Napoleon emerging as the dominant figure in the new regime. As first consul, he held the reins of power, effectively becoming the ruler of France. The French Revolution, which had begun with the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, had now given birth to a new form of authoritarian rule, one led by a charismatic general who promised order and stability in a time of turmoil. As first consul, Napoleon swiftly consolidated power and restored order to France. He implemented reforms, established the Bank of France, and created the Napoleonic Code. Napoleon's reforms were popular, winning him admiration as a strong leader. In 1804, he crowned himself emperor, marking his rise to absolute power. The French Republic was replaced by the First French Empire, with Napoleon at its helm. The Battle of Austerlitz, fought on December 2, 1805, stands as a testament to Napoleon's military genius. Having crowned himself emperor, Napoleon faced a formidable coalition of European powers. Austria and Russia, backed by Great Britain, sought to crush Napoleon's forces. The armies clashed near Austerlitz, with the fate of Europe hanging in the balance. Napoleon, outnumbered but not outmaneuvered, employed a brilliant strategy. He weakened his right flank, enticing the Austro-Russian forces to attack. This was precisely what Napoleon had anticipated. Napoleon unleashed a devastating counterattack, shattering the enemy's center. The victory at Austerlitz was decisive. The Allied forces suffered heavy casualties, while Napoleon's army emerged triumphant. The Battle of Austerlitz marked the high point of Napoleon's military career. The victory sent shockwaves across Europe, solidifying Napoleon's control over much of the continent. While Austerlitz marked a high point for Napoleon, the Iberian Peninsula became a quagmire, sapping French strength. The Peninsular War pitted Napoleon's forces against Spanish, Portuguese, and British allies. What began as installing a puppet ruler spiraled into a nightmare for Napoleon. Guerrilla warfare and rugged terrain made the conflict unwinnable. Napoleon called it his Iberian ulcer, a constant drain on his empire. Napoleon's empire began to crumble after a series of setbacks. In 1814, he was exiled to Elba. However, Napoleon's story was far from over. In 1815, he escaped Elba and reclaimed his throne. This began the 100 Days, ending in his final defeat. His return sent shockwaves through Europe. United enemies amassed forces to confront him. The stage was set for a final showdown. On June 18, 1815, near Waterloo, Napoleon's army clashed with British and Prussian forces. The Battle of Waterloo was brutal and bloody. Napoleon's forces were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Prussian reinforcements turned the tide against the French. Napoleon's army crumbled under relentless assault. The defeat at Waterloo marked the end of Napoleon's reign. Napoleon's legacy extends far beyond the battlefield. His Napoleonic Code revolutionized French law and influenced legal systems worldwide. Before the Code, France's legal landscape was fragmented and contradictory. Napoleon unified French law, drawing from Roman law and Enlightenment principles. Enacted in 1804, the Code established equality before the law and due process. It protected property rights and abolished feudal privileges. The Code guaranteed religious freedom and established a secular state. It reformed family law, though some aspects were later criticized. Despite criticisms, its impact on global legal systems was profound. Napoleon's armies spread the Code across Europe. Conquered territories adopted the Code, replacing existing laws. Even after his downfall, the Code remained influential. Its clarity and uniformity made it a model for global legal reform. Napoleon's reforms extended far beyond the legal realm. He centralized power, modernized institutions, and created a hierarchical bureaucracy. Prefects oversaw departments, ensuring effective policy implementation. He reformed the economy, stabilized currency, and promoted infrastructure. Napoleon controlled public opinion through press censorship and propaganda. His reforms aimed to modernize France and restore order. Napoleon's reign was marked by war, but he also valued education, science, and culture. He reformed the educational system, establishing lycées for rigorous education. Napoleon supported scientific research and major engineering projects. He founded the Legion of Honor to recognize achievements in various fields. Despite his authoritarian tendencies, his legacy in education, science, and culture is significant. By 1812, Napoleon's empire stretched from Spain to Russia, a testament to his ambition. Yet the seeds of his downfall were sown. The French army, exhausted by constant warfare, showed signs of strain. Napoleon's overconfidence led to the fateful invasion of Russia. Launched in June 1812, it was a colossal miscalculation. He envisioned a swift campaign but underestimated Russia's vastness. The Russians adopted a scorched earth policy, retreating and burning villages. The French army faced stretched supply lines and the harsh winter. Ill-prepared, they suffered heavy losses from disease and exposure. The retreat from Moscow was a harrowing ordeal. Section 2, Abdication and Exile, the Emperor Undone. The disastrous Russian campaign marked a turning point in Napoleon's fortunes. The once invincible French army was decimated by the Russian winter. Napoleon's enemies seized the opportunity to strike. In 1813, a coalition of European powers united against Napoleon. Despite desperate actions, Napoleon's forces were outnumbered. Paris fell in March 1814 and Napoleon was forced to abdicate. The emperor, once ruler of Europe, was now a prisoner. He was exiled to Elba, retaining the title of emperor. Section 3. The 100 Days and Waterloo, a final bid for glory. Napoleon's exile on Elba was short-lived. In February 1815, he escaped and landed in France. His return ignited popular support, the Bourbons fled, and Napoleon reclaimed his throne. His return shattered Europe's fragile peace. The Allied powers mobilized their armies. Great Britain, Prussia, Austria, and Russia formed a coalition. Napoleon took the offensive, marching into Belgium. He aimed to defeat the British and Prussian armies. However, his gamble failed. On June 18, 1815, near Waterloo, his army clashed with the British and Prussian forces. Section 1. The Emperor's Shadow. Napoleon Bonaparte's dramatic life and career cast a long shadow over Europe and the world. Even in defeat, his impact on the course of history remained undeniable. Exiled to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic, far from the battlefields and centers of power he had once dominated, Napoleon became a figure of legend. His name whispered in hushed tones, both feared and admired. His story, a tale of ambition, genius, and ultimately tragedy, continued to fascinate and inspire generations long after his death in 1821. The Europe that emerged from the Napoleonic Wars was vastly different from the continent he had sought to conquer. The old order, with its absolute monarchies and rigid social hierarchies, had been shaken to its core. Napoleon's conquests had spread the ideals of the French Revolution, liberty, equality, and fraternity across Europe, igniting nationalist sentiments and inspiring movements for political and social reform. Though many of his reforms were reversed in the aftermath of his defeat, the seeds of change had been sown, and Europe would never be the same. Section 2. A legacy forged in victory and defeat. Napoleon's legacy is complex. A military genius and ruthless dictator, his campaigns revolutionized warfare. His ambition led to both triumph and downfall. Beyond war, his Napoleonic Code influenced global legal systems. His reforms modernized France, centralizing power and fostering arts and sciences. Napoleon remains a figure of debate, embodying both brilliance and contradiction.